Welcome to Future People, conversations with the change makers, impact makers, and the future shapers. Future People is a bold, future-focused podcast hosted by myself, Dan Musa, founder of Third Way Advisory. Join me for unfiltered conversations with the leaders who are rethinking value, legacy, and indeed their own leadership in a world that's being rebuilt, from our cities to our climate and our culture. These conversations are not to be missed. Welcome to another episode of Future People. Today I'm delighted to be joined by guest and now good friend Paul Doherty, who's a highly respected leader in Australia's infrastructure and major projects landscape in his role as founder and MD of PD Project Delivery Pty Limited. Paul's got more than 2 decades of shaping complex nation impact programs both in the UK and Scotland and Australia, and I think he's well known for his calm, grounded leadership style. I'm excited about this episode, Paul, because I know you're pretty open and willing to discuss things and big on this sort of mental health and the wellness side of life. So that's all stuff we can dive into. But before we dive into you, why don't you just give us a quick overview of Project Delivery, PD Project Delivery at the moment, who you are, what you're doing, and the sort of state of the business.
Yeah, awesome, mate. So I'm Paul Doherty, founder and managing director, PD Project Delivery, Brisbane-based company, civil engineering, project management. My background's obviously civil engineering on the ground, building roads, bridges, you know, the usual shit, all the excitement that goes on. And so we started PD Project Delivery January 2018, so up for an anniversary pretty soon, which is exciting. And first few years was just pretty much me just contracting, running jobs, or trying to run jobs myself. And then, I'm an opportunist, so a few things popped up and helpful leather. And here we are, mate. It's just evolving by the day. And anybody that tells you they know what they're doing in life is full of shit, mate. So we're all winging it, mate. We're all winging it hard.
Take it till you make it. So like business now, so if you start yourself, what have you got now in terms of like your workforce, projects you're running?
Yeah, mate. So we're involved in right now on the books about 20 projects all over the country, from mostly Queensland, North Queensland, Central Queensland, and South East Queensland. But also we've even got jobs down in South Australia right now, Olympic Dam, which is pretty exciting. We dabbled a little bit in Western Australia. We still do some work in Northern Territory as well, and New South Wales. The only places we don't touch, if I'm honest, is Victoria. Yeah. For obvious reasons, but we'll let that slide. And
you built quite a sizable workforce. We'll jump into how you've done that in a minute, but you built quite a sizable team now, haven't you? You've got a few people.
It's probably the last 12 months the biggest development we've had in the business. Said to my wife recently that I genuinely feel more of a businessman these days than engineer, which sounds like a dicky thing to say out loud, if I'm honest. But it's true. It's just how it evolves, and I'm now in a position where we've got around 50 people working for us within the business, and we've got a lot of external companies that support us, like accountant, financial planners, things like that as well, that we rely on heavily day to day. Put in a management structure in about 6-7 months ago, and it's been harder than I thought. Not them, but probably before me. Just that delegation, giving away control. We always encourage people to let them fail and grow and stuff like that, but it's a bit more scary when it's your name on the line. But the team I've got around me now are absolutely brilliant. I'm loving every bit of it. I've got more help now than I've ever had, and I feel I've got less time than I've ever had. It makes no sense. It makes no sense, but here we are. I love it.
Oh, mate, and like a family man as well, right? Dad of a young boy, Ziggy, so that's full on as well. But, mate, let's step it back to the start. So you've had this incredible journey and really successful story today, particularly around the growth of PD Project Delivery, right? But where did it start? Take us through your early stage of career, and I guess where was the moment when you thought, actually, you know what, I don't want to work for someone else anymore. I want to go out and do this on my own and take that challenge on.
Yeah, mate. Well, fast forward version is obviously like yourself back home in Scotland. Came across here for a year's travelling holiday and got a job in the mines 2 weeks later. So it was very lucky, to be honest. I was very naive how lucky I was.
As an engineer in the mines?
Yeah. So I actually had a mate from back home. Sorry, not a mate, he was my boss at the time. I was contracting to him, and he's like, oh, when you get to Australia, same old story, hear this mate. Phone this guy, he'll get you a job. And I'm like, no worries, guy here. Give him a ring and give him a shout out. Jimmy Heenan, works for Asiona. And then
sounds like a Scotsman.
Yeah, mad bloke. And I never met Jimmy, didn't know anything about him. And he's like, you know what, I'll put you in touch with Vincent Filippo, who's a major player with CPB right now. And Vincent interviewed me like a week later and basically said to me, got 2 jobs for you, both FIFO, either Caval Ridge or Gladstone. You start Monday. Are you good to go? And I'm like, no worries, I'll go.
You don't give the old what's FIFO?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I walked out the interview and I had to Google, what is FIFO? Why am I flying to work? So yeah, we've done that. And yes, things never really changed from there. Met a good bunch of people with Abbey Group that are still my best mates today. Most of them were scattered all over the country, or some of them went back home to Ireland and Scotland. But yeah, good team. And then from there, it was kind of at the end of the last boom, around 2013. Yeah, 2013, 2014, I think it was. And basically, I was on a sponsorship visa. It was coming to an end of the project. There was no work. Had to make a decision, jump to Penzar. Still, to this day, the best company I've ever worked for. I absolutely love Penzar. I love Carl Yonka, Paddy Newell, all the guys that worked there. And still work there. And then Penzar put me down to New South Wales for 12, 18 months. There was a few water projects working there, and I was pretty young, relocated, definitely in over my head, if I'm honest. But just rolled with the punches, kept going. And had a lot of fun. And then projects came to an end. I was moving back to Queensland, and I was honestly at a stage where I was running effectively a state of projects, versus a state and areas projects. And then I was going back to work under someone. And I was pretty young at the time, like 25 or whatever it was. And I just felt like, nah, I can't do that. Like, I cannot go back to stepping back. And the guy above me was the now managing director, or CEO, of Penzar. So like I knew I was doing his job. So I decided to start PD Project Delivery. The idea was me and a few mates from Abbey Group were going to do it together as a group. So we'd all talked about it, had a few sit-down, serious conversations, and I ran out and I got a serious lead, got an opportunity, presented to everyone, and everybody was tied up in the projects at the time and weren't ready to commit just then.
Brilliant.
I was,
cheers, guys.
Yeah, I was kind of fucking fully committed by that point. So I went and done it, went out in Roma for 6 months, did a job out there, and that was just the start of it. And then literally just bounced from project to project with that. And then it wasn't until I went to, I think it was Inland Rail in 2018, where I first got an opportunity to grow the business effectively and bring people on. And then from Inland Rail up to Bravis, which was really the Bravis and Asiona at the same time, was the same time where people genuinely came back to me and said, we need help, we need some engineers. Ironically, James Heenan, the guy who got my first job, was the guy that reached out for Asiona to get some engineers.
It's amazing how the world works.
It's mental how that worked, that story, but probably still owe James a beer, but we'll let that slide. And yeah, with Bravis kind of expanded quite a lot, and I was still involved on the ground a lot. And then it just got to a stage where we were growing, and I kind of felt like I'd been taught for a long time, you can't do both. You need to be working, you need to be working on the business. Doing both, you're only dabbling and playing with it. You can't be half committed.
Both suffer.
And it's hard because you're obviously looking at the income of working, and it's a good market for engineers to work. So it's like, I don't want to say no to that kind of income, but the offset is you need to put that time in, you need to invest it. So the last 2 years I've spent a lot of time investing in growing the business. I'm big on not being a mum and dad business. I like to do things as legit as possible without being overly like corporate and political, which is good and bad. But yeah, you learn as you go. You make a lot of mistakes along the way. Yeah, you just kind of grow into it. But every day is a new day. I'm not joking. Like this the shit that comes up, I'm just like, how the fuck's that my day to day?
So as someone that came in from that story of your journey, right? And I know you well enough now as well, right? Like you're someone who backs yourself, which I think is awesome, right? I kind of do that to myself as well. And I think it's the only way you kind of move forward and grow businesses. But where do you reckon that stemmed from? Is that something you like growing up as a kid in Scotland at school? Did you always have a sort of I'll back myself in anything, or is it, do you know what I mean? Or is it something you think you've inherited by osmosis from people you've worked with? Because it's obviously a key part of who you are, but really a key part of your success.
Yeah, it's a multi-factor thing. So my dad's a big reason. He's not everybody's cup of tea, I'll put it that way. He's stubborn. Yeah, probably stronger than Marmite. He's very stubborn character and his opinions, but heart of gold. His delivery's pretty poor, but he's a heart of gold, and I definitely have a lot of attributes from him. So we've always just like, if you're going to do something, you do it 110%. That's the only way you do anything. So I live by that. I've always been like don't crack the jokes here, the smallest in the group, or maybe not the smartest in the group. So I've always had to work a wee bit harder than others to get to that kind of next level, and that goes back to your football, boxing, whatever it is. Like you just need to put a few more hard work in to get the result, and I think that's a good attitude for everybody. Like just because you've got the skill or the knowledge doesn't mean that the hard work doesn't need to be there as well. So I believe in that, and I think in business, like you see people a lot, and I know people are haters on people doing well, and it's one of my pet hates at the moment. I hate people who hate people doing well.
That's worse in the UK.
It's a UK thing, mate.
In the UK.
It's like everybody at the start is like, go you, cannot wait, you're going to kill it. You start hitting a few things and it's like, look at this fucker, like kind of thing. And that's honestly how it works. I don't want to sound like a hater either by saying that, but it does stem me with a bit of with drive, I suppose. And then everybody I see, it's weird how you're attracted to different people. So me and you never knew each other till like a year ago properly, and then you get attracted to these people and you realise how similar you are because we're all wired incorrectly, we're getting wired wrongly. But that drive never leaves, and I think you need to have that mentality. I said a few weeks ago to someone, there's a Scottish term, you might have heard it, and it's called, the translation is you have to, but we call it you have to. And the reason you say that is like, if you don't, no one else is going to do it for you, so you just have to do it. Yeah. So that is every time I get something, that's my wee pep talk to myself. It's like, well, you have to, because no one else is going to do this for you, so just so I can keep going.
Mate, that have to attitude, because I know you box, right? I've been in
unsuccessfully, but yes.
Well, no, I would say that. Yeah, like a huge number of fights, right, and very successful actually. I'm interested, is there a connection between your attitude, right? Is that stemmed from boxing and being in that environment, do you think, as well? Or
probably more competitive, but I believe, like, I know, without talking about boxing too much all day, I think the whole philosophy of boxing can be implemented everyone. And people think, if you don't know boxing, you get violent, you get rough or anything like that. The discipline required for it, like, it's a very solo sport. Like, you're in there, no one's helping you when you're in it together. So if you can kind of go overcome them kind of feelings of like anxious and well, probably even scared, I suppose, you go a long way, and you find out a lot about yourself, and you always find out more yourself when you're on the ropes and you're feeling it. If you can just bite down the mouth guard, you go a long way.
But it's definitely a sport good place. I mean, look, I've had nowhere near you. I've had one sort of white collar type fight in Edinburgh, right? But I remember, like, first time I had to spar, floating this amazing guy. Fortunately, he's passed away, but mate, the guy was stacked, like, buff, mate, almost a bodybuilder, like taps over him, and I'm in there like bricking it as a rugby player. And he fucking jabbed me square in my nose, and you know that pain you get when you get hit square nose. But suddenly I was like, I'm all right.
Yeah.
I can, like, the confidence it gives you, the self-belief, and like you said, like, I've been punched, but I'm all right. You keep going. I think as a sport, I'm always, I say something about rugby, those, not necessarily combat sports, right, but those sports where you have to be able to have that level of resilience, I think stands you so well into business and leadership, right? Because you've got to show up every day.
100%. And there was two things when I boxed, which again, it does correlate to life, is you learn a lot about yourself. And I always remember one of my coaches said, just because you can take a punch doesn't mean you stand there and take every fucking punch. Yeah. And it's like, sometimes in life, you do take a lot on, but you don't have to take it all on. You've got people, you get network, you get support. Don't be too proud to fucking shed the load. And the other one is just the feeling I get sometimes, and this is kind of metaphorically speaking, a bit over the top here, but getting punched in the face and not being dropped, to me, is a bigger ego boost than punching someone and seeing them drop.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm still here, let's go.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of drive. And same with life, like, you get back at how you start a business for the last 12 months, and you know how exciting you are one minute, and then you're down the next minute, and you're up the next minute, and it's an absolute roller coaster. But you just need to just keep going, because you know how good that tastes when it's good, and you just need to chase the dragon.
Chase the dragon, I like that, mate. So, PD Project Live is in an incredible space. You've got a lovely young family. How would you describe yourself as a leader, sort of right now on your leadership journey?
Hard one, actually. Very open, maybe too open, but I try to be fair and reasonable with everything I do. Like, I try to be open and honest. I've changed a lot in the last 2 years, a lot personally and business, and I just try to think that I believe in, we talk about pay it forward, doing the right thing. Might not always sound the best to other people, but you need to be honest with people. You need to be very direct, and I believe in good karma. So do the right thing, and it will come back to you. So I try to be honest, open, and positive, but a realist. Not fucking heads in the cloud, never, but a realist.
Mate, with Scots, we're always realists. I'm interested about that openness piece. So, like, that openness piece, like, describe that in action. Like, what does that mean? Because people talk about, I've got my door's always open door policy. But yeah. I think for you, it means probably something a bit deeper than that.
Well, I actually had to do a one-on-one recently with one of my young graduates. She actually gave me some feedback on a few things that I was actually quite impressed with, and a bit humbled by as well with how she said it. But she said that she's always felt very comfortable talking to me. She said, you're always very open and bubbly and stuff like that, and I want to be that person. I don't want to be, because I remember my first construction manager, 3 minutes after meeting him, he threatened me that if he ever caught me without a tape measure or a calculator, he'd punch my face in. And I've never forgot that guy.
I've been in sight and Scotland, I can just imagine.
I'll never forget that guy. Whereas I hope I never give up that vibe to anyone. Like, people get arrested in the day for saying that, but it's the idea you want people to feel happy at work, comfortable. Obviously, you want to be accountable. You don't want people, like, genuinely, people need to be accountable and turn up and do the job, but you also want them to feel like I can ask a question, I can talk to that person. You're not too far up the ladder that they can't say, hey, I've got an issue with this, or I don't feel comfortable with this, or anything like that. I do find sometimes the more experienced people I've got working with them, I think the way I've changed over the few years is maybe been more challenging for me and their relationships. I do keep mentioning that I'm not the same person I was 12 months ago, that yes, I go to site and stuff like that now, but as much as I love standing in the trench, looking up the pipe, or fucking checking the material, whatever I'm doing, it's just not my role anymore. It's not my role in what I'm doing. But I know that's hard for, if you're on the ground working, to see that. You just see this guy that floats in and out. Yeah. You see this guy that fucking gives speeches on podcasts, but that's my role. My role now is to win the work, to make sure that everyone's protected and protect their next space as well. So that is my role, and that's who I am. It's not always welcomed by everybody, but that's the reality.
I want to come back to that accountability piece and the change of role, but before we do, the leaders you work for, right? Is there any one or two or maybe three who have helped you shape to the leader you've been, and you're like, well, when I become a leader, I want to be like that sort of person?
Yeah.
Because I think you always learn from people, right? And people help shape people. So, I mean, anyone that stands out and you think, what made them an incredible leader?
Yeah, so there's a few actually. I won't name names, but a lot of them, most people know I'm wearing my heart on my sleeve. Yeah. I used to be the guy, the engineer that wanted to fight with the excavator driver, or throw my hard hat at him or something like that. Like, crazy. Not. But now I'm much more mellow. Like, I'm still get pissed off like everyone else, but much more mellow in that sense. And I always tell people, like, on site, even when shit's going wrong, keep the emotion out of everything. And that's always my message. It's like, just, you can be right, but accept wrong, if that makes sense. Like, you don't have to just be right and point score and shit like that. It doesn't get you anywhere. Play the long game all the time. And then if it's getting volatile or something like that, you palm it to me. I'll take it. Like, I'm keen for the fight. At least I can fight it less emotional than you that's in the trenches, because I've been that guy and I'm like, nah, he's fucking wrong. I'm like, show him he's wrong. And everybody's like, here he's wrong, but doesn't get you far. Yeah. And I learned the hard way as well that way. So it's trying to show that message to people of the importance of just communication. And I say everyone, like, I was an average engineer, but I was a great people's person. So our game, and in most games, it's 95% people, 5% skill and knowledge, which is ludicrous to say out loud, but it's true. Well,
especially in a project, right? I remember you did a really good LinkedIn post about a year ago. Was it one about is it a coffee machine or a barbecue in a project? And you reckon it saved the project?
Yeah, I did. So I can't believe that was that and the R.M. Williams post was the most attention I've ever had on LinkedIn, which is demoralising, but we can talk about that.
Well, let's tell a story about the coffee machine, because I think that probably sums up your thoughts around people, right? And being a people person and bringing people on site. And I think that's probably, people together, but that's probably something you're doing really well in your own business.
Yeah, and you're actually right, to be honest, to point on that. So we were on a job in a place called Dingo, and most people might know where that is, but when you're Scottish, 12 months in the country, and they say you're going to Dingo, you think they're taking the absolute piss out of you, right? But I was going to Dingo, unfortunately. 12 months job with Abu, which just changed to Lend-Lease Engineering. It was 2013. We went to a place to set up the camp, fucking phone reception, no shop between about 35, 40 k's away. It was rural, man. It was rural thing I've ever done in my life. I just started going out with my wife at the time, or my girlfriend at the time. So, like, it was hard, challenging. The job was challenging. It was just a hard job to get going. It turned out to be one of the really good jobs, but there was a point where everybody was kind of looking at, are we going to jump ship? Reception shit, food's crap at camp, blah, blah, blah. Like, there was always a drama somewhere. And literally the PM just came in one day with a fucking coffee machine, like $3,000 coffee machine at that time. And everybody's like, you know what? It's not actually that bad.
Incredible.
And every morning, everybody's around the coffee machine, giving each other shit, carrying on, having a bit of banter. And then at lunchtime and that as well. It was just like the go-to in the office where people had done it. And yes, the guys on the ground were like, fucking in there drinking coffee all day. I know that's going to the comments, but it's amazing when it changed the whole mentality for everybody.
Well, what a great play by the project manager. Probably, like, having the ability to recognise that and be like, I need to change things, I need to do something differently, or create an environment.
100%, man. It was a game changer.
Sorry to interrupt this episode. Just a quick shout out to our sponsor, Thirdway Advisory, a talent partner for projects that shape our future. Thirdway helps visionary organisations in real estate development, critical infrastructure and mega projects find leaders who deliver and stay. With 20 years of global experience, Thirdway go beyond filling roles. They are all about purpose beyond placement. Now, let's get back to the episode. You mentioned the change of probably having to, I mean, it's always been your own business, so not so much being a peer, but probably being a peer in terms of being on site with your engineers in the early days, right, to that elevation of running the business and being the leader. How difficult has that been? Because I know people change your opinion of you on your way. Like, people once thought you were mates and peers, but you're obviously not. So that's the first part of that question. And then recognizing you had to go on that journey. Did you do it alone? Did you seek help and coaching, or how have you found it? Because it's a difficult thing to do.
Never seeked professional help, rightly or wrongly. I lean on a lot of people within the industry that I've been mates with over the years, and we obviously have some mutual friends there that talk about. I find business owners are my go-to at the moment. Like, I phone you randomly.
Real life lessons, isn't it?
Yeah, you just phone people. Sometimes you don't even talk about a problem. You just want to phone them to have a bit of a vent about you've ran out of fuel or something. I don't know, like something, anything, just to, because they get it and they won't judge you because they get what you're saying without sending the message. But the thing with people has been hard because I used to be everybody's kind of mate, and that does change, and then you have to be the guy who makes the decision. And then the bigger a business gets, you sometimes become a company rather than a person. Yeah. And it's like people don't, and this isn't a fucking sob story, it's just a reality. Oh, yeah. You see that people don't see the shit. They just think that you're a bigger business that, again, you're just cashing checks.
They literally think you've got more cash in the wallet. And
I literally said to someone yesterday that on paper, the most profitable and successful I've ever been. I feel so fucking broke in my life. I don't know what's going on. It's because it's the growing pains, the cash flow. You're putting a lot of money out, your wages and stuff like that, and it's all part of it. And you're so invested that you're like, I can't stop now. Like, I'm literally in the thick of it. You cannot just turn it off. So there's a lot of stress that I never thought I would receive, and I'm a pretty resilient, tough guy in that sense. Like, it takes a lot to break me in that sense, but there is some days where you're just like, this is far too hard. Like, this should not be this hard. And I think that I've heard some comments over the probably the last 12 months particularly, that I don't think people really see what you go through. Like I said, I think all they see is you better claim it in the month and you get paid and hunky dory. So it is a bit like, not demoralising, but it does take a clip. But there's one thing that I'm been pretty good the last 12 months, it's particularly the last 12 months, is I've got a whole new kind of perspective on life through a life event, a whole perspective that I realised that a lot of shit doesn't matter. Yeah. Like, especially people's opinion. Yeah. And as soon as I made peace with that, and that's not an easy thing to do, you can say that, but actually being able to do it literally changed everything. So I've been giving that advice. I've given that advice to my mum actually recently, and she actually took it on board and realised that
it's funny when you start parenting your parents.
And it's funny because you don't do it to give them a lecture, but you just kind of tell them something, they go, that actually resonated, and it's just, you just need it to click for yourself. Yeah. As soon as you make peace with that I did, I felt a lot better. I'm like, you're not going to please everyone. And that's why I always stick by, as long as I know I'm doing the right thing with the information I know and the context I've got, I'm all right with that. Like, it's not always going to be the right thing, but that's what I've done it for.
What's been the hardest part of that journey?
Lost a few friends along the way.
Yeah, that's a common theme, because Ben Allen, he was on 2 weeks before his podcast, became a CEO of Pinnacle Training, and the first thing he said was that I lost some good mates along the way. Yeah,
I've lost a few good mates along the way, and even distant with some mates, and that's not on them as well, it's on me just as much. You become more selfish in what you're doing. The only thing that matters to me right now is my family right now. That's my sole focus, and that's obviously supported by the business. So the business is just not just as important, but that's the catalyst to make sure the family life continues. So by doing that, a lot of things fall at the wayside, and you can't keep everybody happy. I'm not one of the boys anymore. I don't go drinking the weekends and stuff like that, and I don't miss that at all, man.
When you say you lost some mates in the way, is that just the way like that happened organically, or was there people sort of said, was there like, Paul's Mr. sort of coming across as Mr. Big Time now sort of thing, which you wouldn't have been, but from the outside looking in, is that sort of like you said, it's that resentment piece when people in your peer group start doing well, right?
And most of them, I'd say most of them, there's no fallout. I don't fall out with them, but you do grow apart and stuff. People might find you more unrelatable. Man, if you asked me 5 years ago if I jumped on a podcast, I'd slap you. Like, that's the kind of stuff. Like, I mean, like, I know I've changed, right? Yeah. But that's just how you can evolve into who you are, and you see what's important. And I'm pretty driven in what's important for what I want to do, and it doesn't sit with everybody, and that's all right. That's fine. You don't need. And I've also learned that maybe like I'll wear my heart on my sleeve. There's nothing that's a fucking secret with me. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I'm all right with that, man. I'm pretty sound with that.
But you see that coming through in your business and in your leadership, right? Like openness piece. We mentioned before accountability, right? As a leader, how do you instill a culture of accountability across a business? Because something I think we're starting to lack sort of in the generations, I'd say, behind us, even our generation, we sound old saying that, there's a lack of accountability, I think, these days coming through, right? People
There
no
is.
longer to take
100%.
accountability. Yeah, right. So we're agreed on that. So how have you gone about instilling that as a leader, that accountability across your team and across your people, that expectation of accountability, and I guess that positive environment around accountability?
So I'll use the example here. So I agree with that, and that drives me crazy. I know accountability is a bit of a buzzword these days, and I talk about buzzwords a lot, but it's true. It's like, it's not my fault. I didn't know. I assumed. Fuck, don't ever say that to me. These are the things that's like, so when I interview Contract Scotland guys, so we've got obviously an arrangement with Contract Scotland, we bring up a lot of high caliber engineers, and they come across, and literally when I do an interview, I tell them about PD, I tell them about the projects, I tell them about the people that are here already, and then they ask me about the transition. How is the transition into UK? We do a lot of work in the sense of, we got the cheat sheets of transition on terminology and specs and stuff like that. But I always say to them, I said, I only ask a few things. Turn up, give a fuck, and be respectful. You do the rest. You do that, and it's not hard.
Nah.
That's actually not hard.
Oh, it's hard. Do you know what? It's not hard. For a lot of people, it is hard.
It's just, and it's entitled fucking, now we do sound old, right? Entitled back in my day. But it's true though. It's just, I feel like everybody wants the easy path, and sometimes I struggle with, and it's not having a crack at them, but the younger engineers, it's not, I'm honestly not having a crack at them, but they want a job on the doorstep.
Yeah.
They want the simple hours. They want the Tuesdays off for fucking yoga. No, that's too far. But you know what I'm getting at? Like, and I'm just like, that is the time to earn your stripes. Go and work. And I know you need to be careful with work-life balance and don't fucking kill people at work and stuff. But if you sugarcoat people, they're going to get 35, 40, and I'm like, I don't fucking know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because,
well, you see a lot of that now.
And I don't like this pressure that because someone's asked me for a deadline, like it gets too much. I just think that you need some hard truths. You need to put in the yards. That's why I encourage a lot of these young ones. Go and do the 5-4 young. Do it when you're young. Don't do it when you've kids.
So how you encourage, or how are you developing that? Like, let's talk about PD, project delivery people.
Yep.
How are you developing that? Is it through one-on-ones? Is it a value you've got within the business? Like, how are you developing that?
So we have got an internal employee handbook, which has got a few values. I don't publicise them too much. We're looking at maybe doing that a bit more in the future, but it's more to keep it about what we are rather than telling everyone else about it. But it's them things I said about be accountable, give a fuck. Like that's my main one. I do check in with people. It is harder, I've noticed, over the last growth of like trying to be communicative with everyone. So that's why we've got the kind of structure in place that my team will be talking to people as well. But we are organising one-on-ones, and when I sit, I want to hear what's going well, what's not going well. And I like to relay that message of what I expect. Yeah. And it's not a fucking pointing the finger kind of thing, but it is a thing. Like, I just think that should be the bread and butter of what we do. And if that's not for you, that's okay. But that's who we are. So maybe this isn't the place for you. Yeah. Like, that's what we give. And I even used to joke, I told never to market this, but I always used to say it anyway, we might not be the smartest tools in the box, but we're the ones that get shit done for you. Like, that's why people would come to us, to get jobs moving. Get them moving or get them finished is what we kind of push at. So that's the whole driver that I will always be singing from. And you can tell that I'm not Mr. Corporate. I'm pretty rough around the edges. So
no, but you're obviously doing something really well, right? Because there's a shortage of engineers in Australia, right? And many organisations are struggling to hire good people. You seem not to have that problem from the outside. I know you still need people, but like to a degree, and maybe it is you've got the people coming from Ireland and Scotland, and you're tapping into that untouched base. But somewhere along the line, and mate, it stems from you as a leader, you're obviously doing something well about getting the right people into the organisation, but then giving them a place to grow and feel comfortable and develop it. Do you think there's anything you're doing significantly different from other businesses, or you as a leader doing, and it's a tough but significantly different because it's having an effect? So there's obviously a golden nugget in there, or golden nuggets.
The one thing I have done different recently, and this was a big deal for me, believe it or not, is obviously social media. I'm always talking shit on that, and people see it, but talking shy with Paul Doherty. But I realised that I used to have work Paul and personal Paul. Yeah. See, as soon as I like cut that and went, it's the same bloke, same guy that's here. And obviously I was a bit more reserved about keeping my personal life out of my business and stuff like that. I didn't want people to judge what I'm doing in my private life and stuff like that. And then I realised I'm a 35-year-old guy who doesn't drink, doesn't go out. All I do is talk about my wee boy and my wife. There's nothing behind. There's nothing you should be shying away from. Like, be pretty proud of that stuff. And as soon as I'd done that, again, I felt like the penny dropped for me that people don't see me on LinkedIn or social media. I hope not, and think I've never seen that guy before, or I wonder what he's like in real life. Like, I'm pretty fucking raw with how I speak and what I'm doing and stuff like that. That I think hopefully that resonates. That's the kind of business I want to run. I can throw up a post every fucking day with some beautiful words on it, but it doesn't mean anything, man.
That's a really interesting point, and I think there's probably a divisive point when you look at schools of leadership, right? Because some people will be like, bring your whole self to work. right? And they really push it. Other people are like, absolutely, like you bring the leader you want to be to work, and you leave that stuff at home. You know, I look at my own time playing rugby and playing sport. The coaches I kind of had the leaders I had the most respect for always gave enough of themselves, right? Like, and it's hard when you become that leader because you say like you can't be on the piss with your team all the time and being the mick of it, but they would give enough. It'd come out, you know, a couple of times a year, just get a little bit sort of loose and knowing to leave. So I think there's something in that definitely around you have to give a bit of yourself up, right?
Yeah.
That's a good thing about LinkedIn, right? And then you're big on LinkedIn, so am I, and that's probably why you attract a lot of good people, right? Because you have to give people an insight into who you are. And I always tell a lot of leaders that when they're like, well, we can't hire people. I'm like, well, you've got no digital footprint whatsoever. Like no one knows who you are or what you're like or why they want to come and work for you, right? So it's a really interesting point and a really valid point you made there.
And like I'm trying to do a lot more. Like, I get shit for this one, right? But you've been to the events. I run boxing classes.
Yeah, they're brilliant.
And that's because that's who I am. I love the boxing. I love the fact that the office has a gym, a boxing gym. I like to have that opportunity for my people, my clients, my acquaintances, whoever it is, come along, train. Like, what's the harm in that? I think it's good. We don't talk about work. Obviously, we run these wellness events, which, like I said, I get a lot of shit for running a wellness event.
Why though?
Right?
From who?
Just people, just the inspirational quotes and all that shit, which is, I get it, right? I get where it comes from, but you've been to them, mate.
They're brilliant. We
go there, and obviously there's the old stigma with we're a fucking ice bath cult these days and stuff like that, but we go there, no one talks about work.
No, everyone talks about life and challenges.
And you would swear, like that last one we ran, you would swear every single person that knew each other for years before that. That we were all sitting, drinking coffee, drinking smoothies, having a laugh, being for a sauna, ice bath, and just having talk shit. And then everybody just went off with the merry days on a Friday and talk about it. And you messaged me that day actually to say how pumped you were. Another person messaged me and launched a business that day.
Did they really?
That was Maddie. She said, fuck it, I'm launching the business today, and went public. Okay. And that was like amazing to see that something as simple as getting people around and just chatting shit and just having a good morning. We're a mixed company, but we're all kind of the same kind of mentality. We're all the same kind of fucking industry to that degree. It was awesome. It was just awesome to see how everybody just kind of gelled. We're normal. We didn't have to put the persona on that we're the boss and we have to make sure that we're fucking speaking correctly and everything else. And it was just a good day. And I'm trying to do more of them. And I know the people are giving me shit, but I'll attend them eventually.
100%. I remember that, to be fair, they're great events. I mean, I personally quite enjoyed watching, like, you know, everyone's, it was really cool, right? Because you go and do the breathwork in the sauna, and I was like, oh, I'm not sure about this breathwork stuff, but it really works. But I sort of like, everyone's in their eyes closed. I just sort of peeking out, seeing, and you see people like really suffering. It's pretty funny, but sort of
left after 15 seconds.
Yeah, don't want to be the first one out the hot sauna. Like, show my weakness. But that's an example of you, right? And probably that leadership piece of paying it forward, right? And I think that's because everything you do, you hold on to your people, right? So people, you're obviously creating a sense of loyalty, right? People want to be with you, which is really powerful. One thing I love talking about in this podcast, and ask all my guests now, right, is the future leadership, because we're facing challenges like never before, right? On all fronts, you know, the economy in Australia, right? You've got this infrastructure boom on paper, but we probably can't, you know, almost impossible to deliver when you look at the conditions, right? You've got geopolitical issues, you've got climate issues, you've got AI and the digitization race, which is super hectic. How do you think leadership changes for the next 5 to 10 years? And if you're looking at, you know, fast forward, right, you want to replace yourself as the MD of PD Project Delivery.
Which you do,
right? So good example. So what are you looking for? And like, how do you think that's changed from maybe if you were doing that 5 years ago? Has it changed? Has it not?
Yeah, it's changed a lot. So, like, you search for communities and networks to take it. I don't know if it's bouncing ideas or validation. I don't know what the fuck we do it for. But
do you know what? I'll tell you, I think it's validation and bouncing ideas off, and people having conversations with other people who get you.
Yeah. So, and like, obviously what we do as a small community is good, but as you know, I'm a part of the One Life Club. I love that. It works very well for me because of the way it's set up. It's not a drinking boys club kind of arrangement. It's more about entrepreneurs and business owners and coming together. And I love that idea. So when you see that, you see what other people are doing, what's working for them, what's not, and stuff like that. But one thing that I went to the Queenstown convention this year, and one of the speakers, Theo, who owns a massive painting business in the Gold Coast, legend of a guy, he mentioned his words, get a fucking mentor, which cliche, anybody can get a mentor, anyone can do that. Just reach out to one of the business coaches that reach out to us daily on LinkedIn. But that day, I actually looked and I went, I know who I want to talk to. And I actually reached down, and hope it's all right to say it, but I reached out to Carl Juncker, who's the managing director, owner, founder of Pinza. Let him message him. I've always had a good relationship with him, and just said, looking to bounce some ideas off you, look for someone to kind of get some serious, because he's exited the company.
Yeah,
he's been through it all. He's got the same kind of context, granted massive scale that he did. And within about 30 seconds responded back, when you back? And I'm just like, boom. And I've met him once, meeting him next Wednesday again. Like, not met him once, but met him once since the Queenstown event. Just sat with him for like 2 hours and just could not believe how much I felt I learned and got off. And obviously I was a bit awkward walking up to it going, fuck man, this guy's next level to me. But it was good to hear like his journey, his advice. And I'm talking about him specifically, but he gave me some solid advice. But a lot of the things I'm doing, he would never do. Like, he openly said that. But he's like, it's working for you and this is why. But he had a different philosophy on how things work. So I took a lot on board that day and I actually implemented a few things he told me. And next week I'm pretty excited to go and show him what I've done and hopefully get some more ideas.
That's an interesting one about when you go and meet these people and you sort of like, not you put them on anxiety, but I always say, mate, just remember everyone wakes up and puts their underwear in the morning. Same way as you have, so it keeps me level headed.
Yeah, 100%. And he's actually probably more mellow than most people. He still enjoys the high looks and stuff like that. Like, he's a very simple character that way, but he's like, there's bigger things to life.
So as a getting them interpiece, I say we were going to replace you. What are you looking for in that? Like, obviously you mentioned the accountability that give a fuck here, but beyond that, like the skills you think I need.
Of course, and this one's the hardest one, is that one, because no one loves your business like you. It will never happen, and I know it's hard for people to hear, but it's true. It's not a criticism, but I've found that the more I'm delegating stuff or trying to let go of stuff, it's humbling at times when people do things better than you in your own business. It's actually very like,
it's what you want, though, isn't it?
Yeah, you do, but you're like, it's a great idea. I've been doing it this way for 5 years, but yeah, it's a better idea, yeah. So it's funny to see that. It's humbling, and it's actually like, you need to start realising, I think some leaders, even managers, and that I've seen over the years, like, they get shits when you give them a good idea because you're almost showing up that they've not been doing it well or good, something like that. So mine is taking on board. If they make my life easier on any fraction, I'm all about it. Yeah. And if people have a go and are excited about doing something, encourage it. How do you get someone to replace you? That is a massive $100 million question, to be honest.
But it's more like, what would you look for? Like, what would you, what are the non-negotiable values? Say you came to me in 10 years' time.
People's person. Like, you just have to be someone, because that's what I built the whole business on. It's like 90% of the stuff we get is through direct contact to me. And I'm trying to now spread that so that other people want to work and stuff, but people trust me. Clients I work with trust me. So it's reoccurring. So relationships is everything. So if you're not a people's person, or if you're you're in it for yourself, or just in it for us even, that's actually not a good look to the business. So it has to be that big picture, best for project, that everybody sees that you're doing things for the right reason. And if you can't be perceived that way or give out that vibe, then that's not going to be good for us longevity wise.
Mate, 2 sort of questions to finish, and the first one's not an easy question.
Celtic Rangers?
Nah, that's it's not a political problem. What's the hardest lesson you've learned in leadership that you'd hope that no other leader would have to learn?
Transparency. And that goes, there's a wide way to describe it, but letting people see what you're doing without showing them everything. Because when you show people everything that sounds good on paper, people's perception and opinion of you changes. So whether that be bank accounts, people see you different if they can see a bank account, and I'm not saying good or bad, and probably day to day. So just because on paper you might not be doing 100 jobs a day like you used to, you might do 10, you're then lazy to some people. So that transparency and how much you let people in, being honest, not obviously lying or bullshitting, but the level of information you share with that next level, I think it's very important. And I don't know the answer, to be honest. I'm still learning. So I've just had a few bumps. Yeah, massive mistake.
So maybe being too open.
Too open, too quick, and mates become resentful. People you think are mates become resentful. Really good operators change, and there's never a conversation or a real answer, but it's around that subject.
That's the only because I'm like you, right? You know me, honestly, I'm very, very open. It's a blessing, but it can at times be a curse as well. It's an important skill to be able to learn when to be open and when not to, right?
Yep. You
maybe answered the last question. If you're to look back and give young PD a bit of advice now that you might not have received at the time, what would that be?
I've actually had this one recently, and I know what it is do things a bit quicker.
Okay.
So I had a bit of a rant yesterday about doing things today and not tomorrow. I think I knew what I had to do for PD probably 2-3 years before I did it. But I went back to that first thing I said about I had good income as a PM at the time. I was like, why would I throw that away to do this? I reckon if I'd done that, I would be 3 years ahead. I'd be 10 years ahead right now. That's my honest answer. And I think you have to, if you know what's happening, and also trust your gut over your head every day of the week.
So you wish you started earlier.
Yeah. And I just wish I knew the answer. And every time I've said with my gut that's the call, if I've not done it, I've been fucking right but wrong. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I've
Right about the decision, but wrong. You haven't done it. Yeah.
And now every time, even if I've got a new client, a new person to bring on board, if my gut tells me something's off, I fucking pull it straight up. And I might lose out on a good opportunity there, but I might not. There was too much to risk there.
You know, but your guts, you know, I believe that too. You always know. And yeah, I think that comes with experience though, right?
It does.
Because when you're young and you're hungry, you want to take everything on.
You say yes to everything.
You say yes to everything and you think, revenue, opportunity, grow the business. Whereas you become a bit longer in the tooth and you think, that's not great business, or that client's going to be really difficult, or we might let ourselves down in this project. Yep. So you have, I think, the strength of conviction to pick and choose, right? But it's tough because you're also balancing the business and trying to keep people in jobs and pay people, right?
100%, mate.
Good man, mate. What's next for PD, Project Delivery now? The next 5 years?
Go hard, go strong. Yeah, you might see us more client-side spaces in the future. We'll see how that develops.
Mate, we'll keep watching. I'm sure we'll get you back on in the future for updates. Thanks very much, mate. It's been awesome.
Mate. Good on you, mate.
Cheers. Thanks for listening, and hope you enjoyed that episode of Future People. I've been your host, Daniel Musa, and this has been brought to you by Third Way Advisory. Please make sure you like, follow, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and I look forward to seeing you next week for another intellectual and engaging conversation.